Prologue. I used to work the night shift at a self-storage facility just outside of town. If you've never been inside one of those places after midnight, it's hard to explain how wrong they feel. During the day, they're busy and practical. People rolling carts, arguing over boxes, dragging old furniture. At night, it's just rows and rows of metal doors, humming fluorescence, and the sense that every locked unit is a mouth you can't see into. I took the job because it was easy and because I needed the money. I was 26, had just moved out after a breakup, and my cousin's girlfriend worked for the company.
You're just sitting at a desk watching cameras. You'll love it. Bring your laptop, binge Netflix, whatever.
The facility was one of those big, climate-controlled complexes. From the outside, it looked like a cheap office building. Glass front, strip of parking spaces, blue LED sign that said North Side Storage. Inside, the layout was simple. A small front office with a counter, computer, and a wall of monitors. A door behind the desk leading into the main storage area. Long corridors of roll-up metal doors, units stacked on 2 floors, neat and anonymous. My shift was 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 4 nights a week. No customers, no paperwork, just do a walkthrough every couple of hours, make sure all the units are locked, keep an eye on the cameras, call the on-call manager if anything serious happened. The first few weeks were exactly what I'd been promised. Boring. I set up my laptop on the counter, plugged in my headphones, and let the building's sounds become background noise. The low buzz of the vending machine, the faint whine of the AC, the occasional knocking of pipes in the walls. The cameras showed all the usual angles. Front lot, loading bay, hallways on each floor, elevator interior, stairwells. At night, the footage had that uncanny, grainy look, especially in the long hallways. Every now and then, the spider web would drift across a lens and make my heart jump. The first weird thing happened in my 3rd week. Chapter 1. The First Door. It was around 1:30 a.m., and I was halfway through a rewatch of some old show when something flickered at the edge of one of the monitors. I took out one earbud and leaned closer. Camera 3, first floor, east corridor. Most of the doors were shut, metal slats reflecting the cold fluorescent light. But one door, about halfway down, looked wrong. The shadow line along the floor wasn't straight. There was a thin wedge of darkness at the bottom, like the door was rolled down but not locked all the way. I checked the unit number on the corner of the screen, 47E. I pulled up the software that showed unit activity. Each door was wired. If you opened it, the system registered the event. Unit 47E hadn't been accessed since 5:12 p.m. that day. No alarms, no alerts. I clicked back to the camera. The door still looked a little open. There are things you can ignore on nights like that. A noise, a flicker, a reflection in the glass, but an open door is not one of them. If a customer's unit got robbed, it would be on me, and I wasn't interested in losing the only job I had. I grabbed the big metal flashlight we kept under the desk, clipped my keys to my belt loop, and buzzed myself into the storage area. The door behind the desk shut with a soft click, and the sound of the building changed instantly. In the office, everything felt contained, buffered. Out here, the air was colder, and the hum of the lights was sharper, like it was buzzing directly inside your skull. My footsteps echoed on the polished concrete as I walked down the main corridor, then turned into the east wing. The numbers climbed as I passed: 39E, 41E, 43E. The doors all looked the same: gray metal, padlock hooks, the occasional sticker or strip of duct tape. When I reached 47E, my stomach did a small, involuntary flip. The door really was slightly open, not enough to notice in a hurry. The locking latch was down, but the door itself hadn't been rolled all the way into the groove. There was a gap at the bottom, about the width of my fingers. I stood there for a second, listening. Nothing. No movement, no breathing, just the flat, electric hum of the hall. "Hello?" I said. "Because you're supposed to." My voice sounded thin, swallowed by the concrete and metal. No answer. I crouched down and shone the flashlight into the gap. All I could see was the edge of a cardboard box and the bottom of what looked like a plastic bin. I hesitated. Technically, we weren't supposed to open units without the customer or manager present unless there was an alarm or an emergency, but the door being open counted as a kind of emergency. That's what I told myself anyway. I grabbed the handle and pulled the door up a few inches, just enough to get my head level with the bottom. Rows of boxes, some plastic totes, what looked like a metal shelving unit. Nothing dramatic. No person standing there, no glowing eyes, just storage. Still, the air inside the unit felt stale, heavy, like the inside of an old closet. I listened again. Silence. I slammed the door fully down into the groove and tugged to make sure it was shut, then slid the latch properly and clicked the company padlock into place. The key to that lock stayed in a separate drawer at the office. If the customer came in and noticed, the manager would be the one to deal with it. As I walked back to the office, I tried to shake off the feeling that I'd just closed something in. Back at the desk, I checked the camera feed again. 47E now showed a perfect straight shadow at the bottom. Door shut, problem solved. I almost convinced myself I'd imagined the whole thing. Almost.
Chapter 2. Motion. 2 nights later, the motion alert went off. The system wasn't fancy, but it had basic motion detection in the hall cameras. If something moved in a quiet zone between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., it pinged my screen and made a soft chime. I'd been scrolling through my phone, fighting to stay awake when the chime sounded. A small red box appeared over camera 3. East corridor again. At first, I thought it was a bug on the lens. There was a smudge at the far end of the hallway, near the turn. The motion box jittered around it like the software couldn't decide what it was seeing. I squinted. The image was grainy, black and white. The smudge elongated, straightened. For a second, it looked like a person stepping into the hall, just far enough that one shoulder caught the light. And it was gone. The motion box stayed for another couple of seconds, then disappeared. I sat very still, feeling my heart rate pick up. We didn't have any scheduled customers. The big loading door was down, the main entrance was locked. The only car in the lot was mine. I rewound the footage for a few seconds and watched again in slow motion. Darkness, the harsh, overexposed stretch of corridor, the row of doors. Then, something entering from the right edge of the frame. A leg? No. A shoulder? It was too blurry. The lens must have been out of focus at that distance. It stepped forward once. The shadow moved across two doors. Then, just before 47E, it slid back out of view. I rewound again, paused, zoomed as much as the system allowed. It didn't help. All I got was a bigger, blockier unknown. I told myself it was a trick of the cameras. I told myself if someone had gotten inside, the alarms would have gone, the doors would have registered. I told myself a lot of things. Then I took the flashlight, buzzed the lock, and went to check. The east corridor looked exactly like it always did. Flat light, dull gray metal, the faint smell of dust and concrete, and whatever cheap cleaner the day staff used on the floors. I walked the length of the hall, shining the beam along the gap under each door. Everything was closed. Unit 47E was still padlocked with the company lock I had put on it. For some reason, that made me feel worse, not better. If nobody had opened the door, if nobody had triggered the sensors, then what had the camera seen? When I got back to the office, I printed the log for that corridor. No door events, no system errors. On a stupid impulse, I grabbed a sticky note, scribbled "Camera 3 glitch," and stuck it to the monitor. But it didn't feel like a glitch. It felt like someone walked down that hallway and made sure not to touch any doors.
Chapter 3, Signs of Life. About a week after that, the smell started. I noticed it first on one of my 2 a.m. walkthroughs. Sour, stale odor in the east corridor, under the usual layer of dust and disinfectant. Not strong enough to be rotting food, but definitely lived in. I checked the ceiling. Sometimes dead birds got stuck above the panels, or a leak would make a patch of mold. The tiles here looked fine. No stains, no damp. The smell seemed strongest around units 45E, 47E, and 49E. I remembered something the manager, Bill, had said during training.
If you ever smell food or smoke, write it down and tell me. People love to break the rules and live in their units. It's not just against policy, it's a fire hazard and disgusting.
I made a note in the log and told him the next evening when our shifts overlapped for 10 minutes. He shrugged.
Day staff didn't say anything.
He mumbled around a mouthful of vending machine chips.
Probably someone left cleaning supplies in a box. If it gets worse, we'll check it out.
It smells like someone's been staying in there, I said. Like air that's been breathed too many times. He snorted.
You got a poetic nose. Look, if nobody's opening the unit, nobody's living there. The alarms would go nuts. The owners pay for that fancy system. Trust the tech.
I didn't say what I was thinking. The motion alert hadn't pinged since that night, even though I still caught myself staring at camera 3 more than anything else. Later that shift, when things were quiet, curiosity got the better of me. I pulled up the customer information for 47E. Name, Daniel Morris. Status, paid in full, auto billing. Last gate access, 47 days ago. Contact phone, disconnected. Email, bounced on last update. So whoever owned the unit hadn't been on site in over a month, which meant if anyone had been opening that door, they weren't supposed to. I stared at the screen until the cursor started blinking like it was impatient with me. If this was a story I was making up, this is where I'd say I immediately grabbed the manager and insisted we cut the lock and check the unit. In real life, I printed the info, folded it, put it in my pocket, and told myself I'd mention it again when Bill wasn't half out the door. I didn't. Not then.
Chapter 4. The Note. The next real escalation was small enough that I almost convinced myself it was a coincidence. It happened in the office. I had this stupid little routine. Around 3:30 a.m., when my brain felt like glue, I'd get up, stretch, and refill my water bottle from the cooler in the corner. To break the silence, I'd talk out loud sometimes, just to hear a human voice. I'd say stuff like, "Okay, one more hour, then you get a vending machine Snickers, congratulations." Or, "If you don't fall asleep, you can sleep all day tomorrow." That night, I did exactly that. I remember saying, 3 more shifts till Friday, just don't die of boredom." I refilled my bottle, went back to the desk, and picked up my pen. Except it wasn't the pen I'd left there. I'm not one of those people who always knows where every object on their desk is, but the night shift had made me weirdly territorial. My space, my mug, my pen. I used the cheap blue click pen with half the clip broken off. The pen lying next to the keyboard was black, simple, intact, a different brand. I frowned, picked it up, clicked it. It wrote fine on the yellow pad. I figured Bill must have borrowed mine and left his. Not a big deal. I tossed it into the pen cup and kept working. It was only about an hour later when I reached for a sticky note and my fingers brushed paper that wasn't there before that I realized something else had moved. The sticky was stuck to the underside of my keyboard, just far enough out that my hand grazed the edge. I peeled it off. One word, written in neat, small letters. Hi. I just stared at it for a full minute. I hadn't written it. The handwriting was too tight, too almost feminine. Bill's handwriting was big, messy, all caps. The day staff didn't work nights. No one else had been in the office. I would have heard the door chime. My first thought was, someone is messing with me. My second thought was, the only way someone could mess with me is if they have a way in that I don't know about. The office door had a magnetic lock that needed a code or a key card. The front door was deadbolted at 10. The side door by the loading bay had a steel bar across it after hours. Every access was logged. I held my eyes to the monitors. Camera 1, empty parking lot. Camera 2, loading bay, door down. Camera 3, east corridor, still and sterile. Camera 4, west corridor. Camera 5, elevator interior. Camera 6, stairwell, Camera 7, second floor hallway. Nobody. Nothing. I checked the access log for the last 2 hours. No doors opened, no motion alerts triggered. I held the sticky note between my fingers and felt my palms start to sweat. There are explanations, of course. Maybe a day employee had written it as a joke and stuck it there earlier, and I just hadn't noticed until now. Maybe I'd brushed the keyboard and it had slid into view. I wanted to believe that. I wanted it so badly I almost crumpled the note and threw it away. Instead, I stuck it inside the notebook where I did my shift logs, just in case.
Chapter 5. The Crawlspace. There's a kind of fatigue that hits you around 4 a.m. on a night shift. It's not just sleepy, it's like your brain starts filling in gaps with whatever it can. Shadows look like people, sounds stretch, your own reflection feels delayed. That's what I told myself when I heard the footsteps. Soft, slow, a few corridors away. At first, I thought it was the building settling. Then I realized the sound was rhythmic, coming and going, not like a creak or a pipe. I muted my laptop, took off my headphones, and held my breath. There it was again. Heel toe, the faintest echo of a walk. I looked at the monitors. All the hallway feeds were empty. No motion boxes appeared. The sound came again, closer this time. I grabbed the flashlight, told myself I was being paranoid, and buzzed into the storage area. As soon as the door shut behind me, the sound disappeared. The hallway ahead was still, the lights humming, the exit sign at the far end casting a dull red glow. I walked slowly, sweeping the light ahead of me. Nothing. When I reached the turn toward the east corridor, I smelled it before I saw anything. That same stale, lived-in air, but stronger now. A sour mix of sweat, old food, and something chemical. Maybe cleaner, maybe cheap cologne? The corridor looked like always. 41E, 43E, 45E, 47E, 49E. Except 47E no longer had the company padlock on it. I stopped so abruptly my shoes squeaked. The latch was down, but the lock was gone. The loop was empty. My heart jumped into my throat. I definitely locked it. I remembered the pressure of the metal in my hand, the click. I remembered putting the key back in the drawer. For a moment, I told myself Bill must have cut it off. Maybe the customer had called. Maybe something had changed and no one had told me. But the log would have shown an access event, and cutting a lock made noise. Nobody had been here. My brain folded inward, listing options I didn't want to think about. Someone had another key to our padlocks. Someone inside the company had removed it and not logged it. Someone had opened the unit from the inside. I think that was the first time I really felt afraid in that building. Not creeped out, not unsettled. Afraid. I was standing in a long, dead hallway at 4 a.m., holding a flashlight in front of a door that should not be unlocked. The air felt thick, like it didn't want to move. "Storage staff?" I called, and my voice cracked. "If anyone is inside, you need to come out. You're not allowed to be in the unit after hours."
Silence. I put one hand on the latch and lifted the door just enough to see in. The metal rattled, loud in the quiet. The smell hit me first, stronger, stale, and sour. Then the beam of my flashlight landed on the interior. The boxes I'd seen before were pushed to one side, stacked haphazardly. In the cleared space near the back wall was a thin mattress directly on the concrete floor, a pile of blankets, an overturned milk crate with a few items on it, a half-empty water bottle, some crumpled fast food wrappers, a book with the cover peeled halfway off. On the wall, someone had taped a piece of cardboard over the air vent, probably to block the draft. I let the door fall back into the groove with a shuddering bang. Somebody had been living in there. Recently. Very recently. I backed away without even realizing it, the flashlight beam wobbling across the numbers on the neighboring doors. I should have called Bill. I should have called the police. I should have waited in the office with the doors locked until somebody else was there. Instead, I did something stupid. I slid the latch back into place, grabbed the company lock, and snapped it on with shaking hands. Not to protect the customer's property, to keep whoever was inside from coming out. Then I walked fast back to the office, my pulse loud in my ears. By the time I reached the desk, my hands were trembling so badly I almost dropped the keys. I pulled up the logs. No access recorded for 47E since that first time I'd locked it. No errors, no maintenance notes. How long had they been in there? The thought that chilled me wasn't just that someone was sleeping in a storage unit. It was that they'd been slipping in and out somehow without triggering a single alert. I opened the notebook to write this all down and saw the sticky note again, high, peeking from between the pages. I closed the book. The rest of the shift passed in a blur. I watched the cameras like my life depended on it. Nobody came out of 47E. No motion alerts triggered. At 5:55 a.m., the first stripes of daylight appeared in the parking lot feed. When Bill walked in at 6, yawning and complaining about traffic, I blindsided him with everything at once. The open door, the smell, the makeshift bed inside. He blinked, the way people do when their brain is still booting up.
You locked it?
Yes.
You saw a mattress?
Yes.
And you didn't call me last night?
You don't pick up half the time, I snapped, my nerves frayed. And what were you going to do? Drive half an hour to cut a lock off with no cops here?
He rubbed his face.
All right. Relax. We'll deal with it.
He went with me to the east corridor, jangling the master key ring. The smell hit him as soon as we turned the corner.
Jesus. Okay, yeah, that's not normal.
He unlocked the padlock, lifted the door. The unit was empty. No mattress, no piles of blankets, no milk crate. Just the neatly stacked boxes and the shelving unit I'd seen on my first check weeks ago. "Are you kidding me?" I whispered. Bill gave me a sideways look.
You sure you weren't half asleep, kid?
I'm not crazy, I said, too fast. I saw it. I smelled it. It was right there.
Maybe it was another unit. They all look the same down here. Could have been 45, could have been 49.
It was 47E, I insisted. I remember the number.
He dropped the door and relocked it.
Look, we can't go cutting locks and accusing people without proof. If someone's living here, they'll slip up. Cameras will catch them. Until then,
He shrugged.
we've got a business to run.
On the way back to the office, he added, almost as an afterthought,
And maybe cool it with the horror podcasts on shift, yeah? This place gets in your head.
I wanted to argue. Instead, I swallowed it and nodded. But that night,
When I came back in, I checked 47E on the camera before I did anything else. Door closed. Hallway empty. Still, I couldn't stop feeling like something in there had heard me and moved. Chapter 6. The Photos. A few nights later, I found the photos. It was around 2 a.m. I was in the office, flipping between camera feeds and pretending to read an ebook, when I heard a faint thump from somewhere in the building. Not a random creak, a real sound, like something soft hitting something hard. I checked the monitors. Nothing moving. I waited. Another thump, slightly closer. I froze, every nerve suddenly awake. It came again, 3 in a row now. Thump, 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 like someone dropping something small and solid. East corridor. I buzzed the door, stepped into the hallway, and turned toward that wing. The air felt thicker, colder. My footsteps sounded too loud. As I got closer, I heard it more clearly. The faint scrape of something sliding inside metal. Then silence. Then another soft thud. It was coming from somewhere near 47E. I stopped a few doors away and listened. No voices, no rustling, just my own breathing. Then, from behind the wall, somewhere above the units, I heard a different sound. A quick, light scurrying, like hands or feet scrambling over a surface, moving away toward the back of the building. It reminded me, sickeningly, of a rat moving inside a wall, only heavier. I forced myself to walk the rest of the way down the corridor. 47E was locked, padlock in place, latch down. But there was something on the floor in front of it. A small, white rectangle. I pointed the flashlight at it. A photo. A printed, glossy 4x6 photo, face down. My throat went dry. I crouched and picked it up by the corner, turning it over slowly, already knowing I didn't want to see it and not able to stop myself. The picture was slightly overexposed, like it had been taken in low light with a cheap camera. It showed the office, my office, from the corner near the water cooler. In the center of the frame, behind the desk, sat me, head down, elbow on the counter, eyes closed, chin resting on my hand, asleep. The timestamp in the bottom right corner said 3:17 a.m. 2 nights ago. I stared at it, my heart pounding so loud I could hear blood in my ears. There was no camera in that corner, only the security monitors above my head facing the other way. The stills the company saved from those cameras had a different date format, and they were black and white.
This was in washed out color. Someone had been in the office, close enough to see me, close enough to photograph me sleeping, without triggering an alarm, without making a sound I woke up to. I felt suddenly exposed, standing there in the corridor with the photo in my hand, like whoever had taken it was watching me again from somewhere behind the walls. The Crawlspace. The thought came fully formed, like I was remembering something instead of imagining it. The vents, the taped cardboard, the scurrying noise above the units. There was space up there. Not enough to stand, enough to crawl. Enough to move from one part of the building to another without opening a single door. I backed away from 47E, still holding the picture, and almost ran back to the office. I locked the door behind me, shoved a chair under the handle, and then realized how ridiculous that looked. There was only one real door, and if someone was using the ceiling, the barricade meant nothing. But I left it anyway. My hands shook so badly I had to steady them on the desk as I picked up the phone to call Bill. It rang 6 times and went to voicemail. I hung up. I thought about calling the police. And what would I say? "Hi, I fell asleep on the night shift and I think someone might have snuck in and taken a picture of me without showing up on any of our cameras. Also, I think there's a man living in the crawlspace above Unit 47. It sounded insane, even in my head. Instead, I did the one thing I still had control over. I watched. For the rest of the night, I didn't look away from the monitors. Every flicker of light, every tiny pixel shift felt like a threat. I checked the office corners on camera 1, even though I knew it wouldn't show the angle from the photo. Nothing happened. At 6, I left the photo on Bill's keyboard with no note. I wanted him to see it fresh without my panic coloring it. When I came in the next evening, it was gone. "Did you see it?" I asked before he could take his coat off.
See what?
He looked tired, irritated. "The photo," I said, "on your desk, of me, sleeping." He frowned.
There was no photo on my desk.
"I put it right there," I said, my voice rising. "On your keyboard, last night. You didn't see a picture?"
Maybe the cleaners took it, or it fell. Look, I've got back-to-back meetings, okay? We can't do this every day. If you're not comfortable on nights, we can see about shifting you to evenings or something.
I'm not making this up. It came out small, desperate.
I didn't say you were. I'm saying this job can mess with your head. You're alone for 8 hours, you're tired, you watch horror crap on your phone, and suddenly every noise is a serial killer in a duct. You're good at the job, but you've got to separate what's real from what's not.
"Someone took a picture of me," I insisted.
Then lock the door. Keep the office locked if it makes you feel better. We've got 3 feet of concrete and steel between you and the outside world. Nothing's getting in that we don't allow.
He left without waiting for my answer. I stood there in the middle of the office, looking at the empty desk where the photo had been, and felt a cold, childish certainty settle in my chest. He knew more than he was saying. Or it didn't want to know. I wasn't sure which option was worse. Chapter 7. The Last Night. I didn't quit immediately. That's the part that bothers me when I think back on it. I kept showing up, kept buzzing in at 10 p.m., making coffee, telling myself I'd overreacted, that if things got truly bad, I'd leave. True horror isn't one big, obvious red flag. It's a lot of small ones you learn to live with because you need the paycheck. The last night I worked at Northside, there was a storm. Not dramatic, Not movie level, just a steady, cold rain that turned the parking lot into a mirror of smeared lights and made the glass front hum with the sound of water. Around midnight, the building briefly flickered, lights dipping, monitors flashing blue for a second, then coming back. I checked the systems. The backup kicked in. Generators stabilized. One error message, camera 3 temporarily offline. Of course, I told myself it was stupid to be afraid of a particular camera. It was just hardware. Still, without that feed, the East Corridor felt blind. An hour later, the motion alert chimed. My whole body jolted. The red box was over camera 6, stairwell. I pulled the feed full screen. The stairwell was a concrete shaft with metal rails and harsh overhead lights. Almost nobody used it. For some reason, the motion detection always triggered a little late in there. Right now, the feed showed nothing. Empty steps. The red box jittering near the middle landing like it was trying to catch a ghost. I rewound 10 seconds. The stairs were empty. I pressed play. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then, from the top of the frame, something appeared at the edge. Not a full body, just a hand. Long fingers gripping the railing, followed by the side of a head leaning out just enough that the camera caught dark hair, part of a cheek, a hint of an eye socket. Whoever it was stayed like that for a moment, their head tilted down as if they were listening. Then, very slowly, they pulled back out of sight. The motion box lagged behind, then blinked out. My vision tunneled. The only people with access codes were staff and customers with units. The outer doors hadn't logged any entries. No one had come in from the outside, which meant whoever was on those stairs was already inside the building, above me. Between the 2 floors, there were ceiling spaces where the ductwork ran, just high enough for someone to move if they were thin and desperate. I realized with a cold, crawling certitude that if I'd been walking the 2nd floor corridor just then, I might have heard footsteps overhead. I might have been directly beneath them. I barely remembered deciding to leave the office, but the next thing I knew, I was in the hallway, flashlight in hand, heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my teeth. I don't know why I didn't just stay put and call 911. Maybe part of me still needed something undeniable to justify that call. Something I could point to and say, "See, I'm not crazy." I took the stairs. The metal treads rang under my feet, each step sounding too loud. Halfway up, I stopped and listened. Nothing but the storm-muted hum of the building. On the 2nd floor, the air felt different, warmer, closer. The corridor stretched out in both directions, door after door. I turned toward the section above the East Corridor. Logically, I knew that was dumb, but whoever I'd seen on the camera had been in this stairwell, not necessarily headed there. But my brain had drawn a line between 2 points. The hand on the railing, the scurrying in the ceiling, the bed in 47E. My flashlight beam shook as I moved. Halfway down the hall, I saw it. A ceiling panel slightly out of place. Not dramatic, just shifted a little. Corners not perfectly aligned with the grid. Right above where 47E would be on the floor below. The smell up here was stronger. Sweat, dust, a faint hint of something sour that made the back of my throat prickle. I stood under the panel, craning my neck, and imagined someone lying flat on the other side of that thin fiberboard, staring down through the cracks, watching me. I should have gone back downstairs. I should have locked the office door, called the cops, waited. Instead, I did something I can't fully explain even now. I reached up and pushed at the panel. It moved easily, sliding aside with a dry, scraping sound. The darkness above it was almost complete, broken only by the weak reach of my flashlight. I raised the beam. The crawlspace was about 3 feet high, running along the length of the building, metal ducts, insulation, a lattice of beams. And a few feet in, resting between 2 joists, a thin, stained mattress, a crumpled blanket, an empty water jug, a milk crate, a small, cheap digital camera. And next to the camera, lined up in a neat, careful row, 4 printed photos. I couldn't see the images from that angle, but even from below, I recognized the shape, the glossy sheen. I swallowed, my mouth bone dry. Someone had been living above the units, moving through the building over my head, slipping through the gaps between walls like a parasite. Watching. I thought of the hand on the railing, the tilt of the head, the way it had paused, listening. Listening to me walk. Listening to me talk to myself. Listening to me breathe. My flashlight trembled. I tried to angle it to see more. That's when I heard the sound behind me. Not loud, just the soft, unmistakable roll of metal moving against metal. A unit door opening on the floor below. I turned off the flashlight without thinking, plunging myself into the half-dark of the emergency lights and the faint glow from the exit signs. Every instinct screamed at me to run. I moved on reflex, feet surprisingly quiet on the thin carpet runner of the second-floor hall, back toward the stairwell. I didn't dare look over the railing down into the first-floor corridor. Halfway down the stairs, I heard a door close. Not slammed, just a gentle, deliberate slide into the groove. Then footsteps, soft, measured, coming toward the stairs from below. I pressed myself into the angle of the landing, out of sight of the camera, every muscle locked. The footsteps approached the bottom of the stairwell. They paused. For a moment, all I could hear was the storm outside and the roar of blood in my ears. Then a voice floated up, unbelievably calm and conversational.
I know you're there. It was a man's voice, flat, almost mild. Not angry, not threatening. That made it worse. My lungs burned. I realized I'd been holding my breath. I've seen you walking. You always walk the same way. Same route, same times. You don't look up. Footsteps on metal. 1 step, 2, coming up. Sometimes you talk. You say you're bored. You say you're tired. You say you're lonely. I backed up the stairs as quietly as I could, my hand sliding on the cold rail. There was nowhere to go but up. Second-floor hall, then the far stairwell, then back to the office, if I could make it without him catching up. Another step. The sound of his shoes was soft but definite. You shouldn't fall asleep at work. It's not safe. He was maybe 1 flight below now. If I leaned over, I could probably see his head. I didn't. Instead, I turned and ran. Not a sprint, just fast, controlled steps, the way you walk when you're trying not to make noise and failing. I crossed the second-floor hall, every door the same gray blur, and reached the far stairwell. Down, hand grazing the rail for balance, my knees almost buckling from the adrenaline dump. As I pushed the door open at the bottom, I heard a new sound behind me in the building, a metallic bang, like someone hitting a duct in frustration. The office door was ahead, its small glass window showing the glow of the monitors.
I punched in the code with shaking fingers, slipped inside, and slammed it shut. The lock clicked. For half a second, I just stood there, expecting the handle to jiggle, for someone to knock, for the door to shake. Nothing happened. The building went back to its usual hum, like shrugging. My hands were trembling so badly I had to sit down. I grabbed the phone, dialed 911, and said the first clear, undeniable thing I could. There is someone inside the building who shouldn't be here. This time I didn't leave out anything when the dispatcher asked questions. I told her about the bed in the unit, the photo, the crawlspace, the voice on the stairs. To her credit, she didn't tell me I was imagining things. She told me to stay in the office, keep the door locked, and wait for the officers. They arrived in under 10 minutes. 2 cars, lights flashing in blue-white pulses across the rain-slick parking lot. They swept the building carefully. I watched them on the monitors, torches in the halls, heads tilted toward the ceilings. They checked every corridor, every stairwell. They looked into the crawl space, their beams cutting through the dust. I saw one of them stop under the panel I'd moved, his flashlight lingering on the joists. He said something into his radio, then turned away. Eventually, one of them came into the office to talk to me. Officer Green, mid-30s, tired eyes, polite.
We didn't find anyone. No one living in any units, no one in the crawl space.
But there was a mattress, I said. There were pictures, a camera. I saw them. He glanced at Bill, who had shown up halfway through all of this, face thunderous from being dragged out of bed.
We found some disturbed insulation. Could have been maintenance, could have been an animal. There's no sign of anyone currently up there.
What about the photo? I asked. Of me? Bill shifted.
I haven't seen any photo. We checked the office, nothing there.
I stared at him. He stared back, his expression locked. Green gave me a sympathetic look.
If you get another picture or you see someone on the cameras again, call us immediately. We'll file a report tonight. But without a suspect, there's not much more we can do right now.
So what do I do? I asked. Just stay here?
That's up to your employer.
Take the rest of the night off. I'll cover till 4. We'll talk tomorrow.
I didn't come back the next night. I quit by phone. No 2 weeks notice, no coming in to wrap things up. I told them to mail my last paycheck. They did.
Chapter 8. After.
I moved in with a friend for a while. Found a day job in a grocery store. I told people I just wanted something simple, less responsibility. It sounded better than I get panic attacks when I hear humming fluorescent lights now. Northside replaced me. I know because about a month later, I got a text from an unknown number.
Hey, this is Kara. I took over your night shift at Northside. Bill gave me your number in case I had questions. Did you ever hear noises above the units? Like in the ceiling? I'm probably being dumb. Lol.
Attached was a photo. At first, I thought it was the one from the corridor, the one someone had left for me. But the angle was different. The picture showed the office, same corner, near the water cooler, the same cheap plastic chair behind the desk. In the chair, head tilted back, eyes closed, was someone else. Kara, presumably, sleeping. On the far right edge of the frame, just barely in shot, was a part of a face. Pale skin, dark hair, one eye, looking straight into the camera. No timestamp. Just the reflection of the monitors and the glass behind them, showing rows of empty corridors. My stomach turned to ice. I didn't answer that text. I blocked the number, then unblocked it, then blocked it again.
I started keeping my bedroom closet light on at night, not because I thought someone was in there, but because I couldn't stand the feeling of not seeing the corners of a room. A few weeks after that, I checked the local news online and saw a small story scroll past about trespassing at a storage facility on the north side. No details, no follow-up. I don't know who he was. I don't know how long he'd been in that building before I noticed. I don't know if he's still there or if he moved on to another place with the same crawl spaces, the same late-night hum, the same kind of person at a desk too tired to keep their eyes open. What I do know is this. When people say, "Nothing can get in here, it's all concrete and steel," what they really mean is, we don't want to think about the ways something could already be inside. When they tell you to trust the system, they mean trust the log, the sensor, the line of text that says no one opened a door. But systems don't hear footsteps. Logs don't smell stale air. Cameras don't see the spaces between frames. People do. I wish I'd trusted that sooner.
If you're listening to this on a break at a night job, in a room with a monitor showing empty hallways, look up, change your route, lock the door. And if you ever find a photo of yourself sleeping that you don't remember anyone taking, don't tell yourself it's just a prank. Someone was close enough to stand over you and press the button. You'll never fully know what they did before they decided to wake you up like that.